If you're reading this, maybe you'll understand why I stayed and why I can't leave. I shouldn't be writing this. Every word I put down feels like a betrayal, a whisper dragged from my throat that she might hear even now. But silence is heavier than truth, and if I keep this secret locked inside me, it will fester like a wound, rotting me from the inside out. People talk about love as if it saves us, as if it cleanses and redeems. I once believed that too. I believed in the warmth of devotion, the safety of another's arms, the way a kiss could silence every fear. But there's a darker vein that runs through love, one no one wants to name. It can cling like ivy, choke like smoke, and leave you hollowed out until only their shadow lives inside your chest. I loved her. God help me, I still do. And that's why I can't run, can't breathe without her. Even now as I write, my lips ache with the memory of her kiss, and my teeth, yes, even my teeth, seem to throb with her touch. You think I'm exaggerating? You'll see. I first saw her on a night when the fog pressed down so thick it seemed to muffle the world. The churchyard was empty except for the brittle whisper of leaves, and yet she stood there as if she had been waiting centuries for me. The iron gates creaked behind me, though I hadn't touched them, and in that silence she turned, her face lit by the tremble of a lantern's flame. She was not beautiful in the way the living are. No, her beauty felt older, carved from shadow and sorrow, the kind of face that belonged in a painting no one dares hang. Her dress seemed a little out of time, velvet darker than midnight, and her eyes, God, her eyes held me like a noose. She spoke first. Her voice was soft, but it threaded through me like smoke. Do you believe people carry pieces of each other inside them? I should have walked away. I should have laughed it off. Instead, I answered, only lovers. Her smile curved then, delicate and dangerous all at once. Something about it unsettled me, though I could not say why. Perhaps it was the glimmer of hunger beneath the sweetness, or how it lingered just a little too long. But desire is a blindfold, and mine was already tied tight. I told myself she was strange, yes, but strange in the way I had always longed for. It was weeks before she showed me the collection. By then I was already hers, helpless, drunk on her touch, convinced no shadow could dim the brilliance of what we shared. She led me into a narrow room lit only by candle stubs, their wax pooled like frozen tears. Shelves lined the walls, not with books but with jars. Dozens of them, some cloudy with age, others clear enough to reveal their contents. Small, pale fragments that gleamed when the flame flickered. At first I thought they were stones or seashells. She smiled at my confusion and opened a velvet box, pressing it into my hands. Inside, cushioned like gems, were teeth, human teeth, molars, incisors, canines, each one polished, each one preserved as though it belonged in a shrine. They're tokens, she said softly, watching me with those fathomless eyes. Love leaves pieces behind. Some give letters, some give rings. I collect something truer. Her words should have chilled me, but there was a strange poetry in them, a romance steeped in madness. I tried to laugh, to tell myself it was an eccentric hobby, nothing more. And yet as I peered closer, I felt my stomach knot. Several of them looked familiar, uncannily so. The crooked edge of a childhood break, the faint stain I'd hidden with years of careful smiles. I told myself it was coincidence. I told myself she couldn't possibly, but that's when I realized some were not just similar, they were exact. Those nights blurred into one long fever, a dream stitched from firelight and shadows. We kissed in rooms where the curtains never opened, our breaths tangled like threads drawn tight. She spoke to me as though I were the only soul left in this crumbling world. Her words dripping devotion so fierce it threatened to drown me. When she laughed, I felt the sound in my bones. When she touched me, it was as though her fingers reached past my skin and pressed against my heart. We whispered our secrets as if they were confessions to God. She told me of the dreams that haunted her, dreams where lovers bled into one another, bound forever by pieces too small to name. I told her of my fears, my regrets, and she held me as if each sorrow only deepened her hunger for me. One night, after she kissed me until my lips ached, she brushed my mouth with her fingertips and whispered, "Every part of you belongs with me." Even what you'll lose, I should have recoiled. Instead, I leaned closer, desperate for more of her impossible love, but the passion bled into dread. I woke one dawn with the taste of iron on my tongue, thick and metallic. My pillow was stained crimson, and when I stumbled to the mirror, my smile felt wrong, lighter, emptier. My hand shook as I ran it along my gums. A gap. A tooth missing, yet when she appeared behind me, pressing her cold lips to my neck, I said nothing. Her arms wrapped around me, and fear collapsed beneath the weight of her devotion. She told me the story one evening when the storm rattled the windows and the house itself seemed to groan with memory. We were wrapped in candlelight, the shadows of the flames bending across her face, making her look both tender and terrible at once. She held a jar in her lap, cradling it the way a mother might cradle a child, and inside, a single yellowed tooth gleamed. "Love is never meant to end," she said, her voice soft as prayer. "But people lie. They leave. They forget. My family, we never allowed love to wither. We made sure it endured." I asked her what she meant, though some part of me already knew. Blood, hair, teeth. They hold what words cannot. They bind us deeper than vows. My mother taught me, and her mother taught her. Every lover leaves something behind, and in that leaving, they remain. Forever. Her eyes glistened as she placed the jar beside a dozen others. These are not grotesque. They are proof. Proof that love can survive rot, silence, even death. The room seemed to tighten around me. I imagined generations of women like her, pale and patient, gathering fragments of those they loved, building shrines of enamel and bone. Not mourning, preserving. Not possession, but devotion sharpened to a curse. My breath caught when she lifted her hand to my face, her thumb grazing my lips. "But you are different. I don't want only a piece of you. I want you whole." Her words should have soothed me, yet they filled me with a dread so sweet it was almost intoxicating. I could not decide if I was blessed or doomed. Was I her beloved, destined to remain untouched? Or was I the first she intended to keep in entirety, body and soul, until there was nothing left to bury? The days blurred into nights, and the nights into something darker. I lived in a fever dream where every heartbeat belonged to her, and yet terror gnawed at me with every breath. One moment she would hold me as though I were the last fragile light in a collapsing world, her lips grazing my skin with unbearable tenderness. The next, her love pressed too tight, her devotion too sharp, until it felt like being worshipped and buried all at once. Sleep abandoned me. I lay awake beside her, listening to the rhythm of her breathing, wondering if she was truly asleep or only pretending. My teeth ached constantly, a dull throbbing reminder of her obsession. Sometimes, in the dead hours, I swore I heard whispers curling through the room, voices not hers, murmuring from the jars along the shelves. They spoke in sighs, in groans, in the brittle chatter of enamel against glass. Still, passion chained me to her. I would fall asleep tangled in her arms, my cheek against her chest, my heart clinging to the illusion of safety. And then I would wake, suddenly, to the cold drag of metal against my lips. Once I opened my eyes to find her tracing my teeth with a small knife, her smile as serene as if she were sketching a lover's portrait. "Why me?" I asked her once, my voice breaking, desperate to understand. She tilted her head, her grin stretching a little too wide, showing teeth I did not quite recognize. "Because you've always been mine, even before we met." That answer should have shattered me. Instead, I clung to her, terrified of the world without her. Terrified of the world with her. But the worst came when I wandered the house alone, searching for proof that I wasn't losing my mind. I opened a drawer, trembling, and inside found a jar wrapped in silk. My breath froze in my throat. I knew the tooth within. A small molar, crooked at the root, the one I lost as a child, tucked under my pillow for the tooth fairy. Her collection had always included me. Long before I ever knew her name, I told myself the jars were only macabre trophies, tokens of obsession twisted into ritual. But the truth revealed itself slowly, like rot spreading beneath the floorboards. One night, unable to resist, I held one of the jars up to the candlelight. Inside lay a tooth so white it almost glowed, and then, God help me, it moved. Not much, just the faintest pulse, a shimmer as though something inside still lived. I set it down, heart hammering, but the whispers began again, louder this time. The shelves trembled with sighs and murmurs, not words but the aching hum of voices cut from throats. Each jar seemed alive, each tooth carrying a fragment of its owner, trapped, yearning. I felt it then, like cold fingers slipping into my chest. These were not symbols. They were prisons. When I confronted her, she did not deny it. She only touched my cheek, her eyes shining with feverish devotion. "Love doesn't die," she whispered. "It lingers, it clings. These pieces are their essence, their devotion. They never left me, not really, and neither will you." I wanted to run. Every bone screamed for flight. But even as I thought it, I felt a sharp ache in my gums, as though the roots of my teeth were bound to invisible threads tugging me back toward her. The realization crashed over me. Leaving her would not be escape. It would be erasure. She held pieces of me already, had held them for years. My life, my soul, was knotted into her collection, trapped as surely as the others whose whispers crowded the room. I was hers, inescapably. To walk away would mean to unravel. She gave me the choice as if it were mercy, as if placing a blade between my ribs were a kindness. The candles guttered while she spoke, and the room smelled of rain and old paper and something sweeter, copper and perfume. "If you let me keep you, you'll never fade. Isn't that what every lover wants?" Her voice wrapped around me like a vow. I held the jar that contained my childhood molar, feeling the small weight of it as though it were a scale. To surrender meant a promise of permanence. Her touch would hold me beyond decay, beyond cold and absence. To refuse meant the slow unraveling she promised in whispered threats, a bitterness that would hollow us both until nothing remained but regret. I thought of running, of tearing myself away in the dead of night, but the thought of leaving her to loneliness felt crueler than any binding. Desire and dread braided through me. The idea of being claimed forever shimmered with a perverse comfort. Yet the price was mine to pay, enamel for eternity, a barter of body for belonging. I looked at her and saw both salvation and prison. I wanted to be loved this way, abhorrent and absolute, but I also wanted to keep the shape of myself. The choice trembled on my tongue. And if you're still listening, know that sometimes the only way to stop fearing oblivion is to grant yourself to it. I chose in the end, in silence. I thought I could choose, but choices are illusions when the trap was sprung years before. I tried to leave. God, I tried. I staggered through the darkened hall, my heart slamming against my ribs like a desperate prisoner. The front door loomed, a promise of air, of distance, of freedom. But the moment my hand touched the latch, pain tore through me. My teeth ached so violently I screamed, and with that scream came the sound of breaking. Fragments clattered against the floor, splinters of enamel, pieces of me falling out one by one. I spat blood, my voice unraveling as if language itself was deserting me. Each step I took, another tooth loosened, another shard of myself stolen by the invisible tether that bound me back to her. And then she was there, calm as the night, her lantern spilling gold across the ruin of my face. She gathered the fragments from the floor with infinite care, kissing each one as though it were a jewel. "See," she murmured, cradling them. "You were never leaving. You were always meant to be mine." I collapsed into her arms, trembling, my mouth hollow, my words gone. Yet in her gaze I felt the terrible solace of belonging. To be devoured by love is still to be remembered. If you're still listening, if my broken voice somehow reached you, beware her. Or perhaps seek her, because once she touches you, you will never fade. You will never be alone. If you've read this far, maybe you'll understand why I stayed, why I couldn't walk away, even as the walls closed in and the night itself grew teeth. Love is not always gentle. Sometimes it consumes. Sometimes it shackles. Sometimes it buries you alive and calls it devotion. I am not what I was when I began writing this. My mouth is a hollow echo, my words borrowed scraps, yet still I am hers. Whether in life or death or someplace between, I remain bound by the pieces she claimed, and I no longer know if that is horror or grace. I think of those jars often, of the faint pulse inside them, the whisper of every lover who came before me. Their voices fold into mine, a chorus of the forgotten, each still speaking her name in the dark. Perhaps soon you will join us, because love like hers does not stop. It does not forgive absence. It does not forget. And maybe, one night when you are most alone, you'll feel her breath against your neck, soft and cool, asking to see your smile. Show her. Please show her.